right now. Good time then to bring in Dyaneshwar Padwal from KIFS TradeCapital to talk about market action right now. Dyaneshwar, we are giving up some of those gains right now, although just about holding to 11,900 on the Nifty at the moment. We have seen some bit of selling pressure that has come in at higher levels. What's the sense you're getting on market action right now? How do you expect trade to pan out for the next hour, and where is the floor on the Nifty at the moment?
Yes, good afternoon, Deepanshu. As we have already experienced that the last week we have observed that selling support level of the 12,100 towards the 11,800. So that could be the range we can see probably for this week. And if you're talking about the today, yes, of course, if you take the Fibonacci retracement of the last week from the top to bottom, so 61.8% retracement where the today's high is placed, and we are getting selling from that level. If if Nifty is managed to cross the 12,000 mark, then only we may see the further escalation towards the northern trajectory. Until and unless we should test the 11,800 in coming days.
All right, so that's the sense as far as the Nifty is concerned. What about the Bank Nifty, Dyaneshwar? That's where we're seeing a bit of weakness. Largely, it's PSU banks that are dragging at this point in time. But across the board, even if you look at private players, the breadth is looking very weak on the Bank Nifty. We have select players, Yes Bank, that's coming under pressure. Kotak Mahindra not doing too well either. HDFC Bank not participating. What is the sense that you have on the Bank Nifty?
Yeah, in case of Bank Nifty, we observed that the from the private bank on the last week we have seen the profit booking has been clearly observed on the chart. Second thing, there's some kind of spurt we have seen in the PSU's bank, but start of the week we have seen the profit booking again into the PSU bank. And if you look at the overall Bank Nifty chart, so it is trading in the range of near about 30,500 on the lower side and 31,500 on the higher side. So that could be the range. If it is managed to come towards the 30,500, so there the risk reward ratio would be favorable. So there you can go long in Bank Nifty, and you can use the strategy of mean reversion.
Right, that's on the Bank Nifty, which is just about now trying to move back into positive territory. So a bit of wild swings happening in the street. It is the 230 factor which is at play once again in the markets right now. The Bank Nifty trying to move back into positive. The Nifty has rebounded by about 10 odd points, but we are watching very closely with the action in the financial space. Dyaneshwar, Axis Bank on the move once again near about record highs. IndusInd Bank from the private banking space has been very, very volatile of late. There have been days of over 6% cuts coming in this counter last week as well. How do you view both of these charts?
Deepanshu, if you look at the overall chart structure of Axis Bank, so we have seen that the stock is moving in a clear uptrend. And last 5 to 6 trading sessions, Axis Bank is consolidating in a wide range. And today's move suggests that the renewed strength is clearly observed on the start and trying to get towards the northern trajectory. So anyone wants to take a long position, so Axis Bank would be a very favorable counter. Keep a stop loss of 800 for an initial leg of a move towards the 830. And if you talk about the IndusInd Bank, so in case of IndusInd Bank, we have seen that the massive sell-off from the level of 1680 odd level towards the 1500 or 1480. After that, the stock has given a pullback towards the 1561, and 1580 would be a very strong resistance for the bulls to move towards the northern trajectory. So I would suggest to avoid IndusInd Bank, go long for an Axis Bank.
All right, look positive on Axis Bank, IndusInd Bank perhaps hold off. Just a PSU bank, Dyaneshwar, to get a quick view from you on State Bank of India. It's up about 0.5%. It's bucking the trend. Most of its peers in the PSU banking basket trading in the negative territory at the moment. And we've seen a decent recovery play out in just the last couple of minutes as well. What do the charts indicate for SBI at these levels?
Yeah, if you talk about the PSU banks and overall sector, so in that space, SBI looks quite promising because recently we have seen that the move towards the 300 towards the uncharted territory, and it has posted a multi-year breakout of 5 years, and the consolidating in the range of 360 towards the 340. 340 could be used as a very strong support. Traders can keep a stop loss of 335 on a closing basis for an initial leg of move towards the uncharted territory again.
Right. So it is banks, it is financials that are keeping us occupied once again. We will talk about some of these names in detail a little later on the show as well. But it is 2:40. Time to get Dyaneshwar's trading calls for the afternoon. Which stocks are you betting on today?
Yeah, today I have three stocks. First of all, we'll talk about the BPCL because recently we have seen that the oil and gas sectors has outperformed the key benchmark index. But if you look at the higher time frame charts of BPCL, so we are observing some divergence that would be a negative divergence where the stock is managed to make a new high, but RSI is not making a new high. So that would be a selling opportunity. And recently we have seen that the last 2 days the profit booking has been seen in BPCL and negative action has been taken place. So one gets short at current market price by keeping a stop loss of 400 for an initial down move towards the 360. The second stocks would be an Muthoot Finance because recently we have seen that the stock is trading in a clear up and after a sideways consolidation in today's trading session, the renewed strength is clearly observed. So one can buy Muthoot Finance by keeping a stop loss of 615 on closing basis for an initial leg of upward towards the 655. The third stock would be from the IT space because recently we have seen that the IT was consolidating in a narrow range and today it has given a very fresh breakout. So in that space, Infi is looking quite promising because on a daily charts, RSI has given a trendline breakout. So simultaneously, it will push towards the northern trajectory. So one can buy these stocks at current market price by keeping a stop loss of 735 on a closing basis for an initial leg of up move towards the 780.
All right, Infosys looking good along with BPCL as well as Muthoot Finance. In fact, it's not just Muthoot that's doing well at the moment, Dyaneshwar. Coming on Manappuram Finance as well. It's up about 4.5% as we speak. One of the top gainers from the broader end of the market. What is the sense here?
Yeah, of course. If you talk about the Muthoot Finance, so in that space, Muthoot Finance and Manappuram Finance both are doing well because recently we have seen that the Manappuram Finance has moved into the uncharted territory and last 5 to 7 trading session it has been consolidating in the range of 130 on a lower side and 140, 40, 42 on a higher side. And today's trading session, yes, again the bulls has shown their interest. So anyone wanted to take long position, they can buy Manappuram Finance by keeping a stop loss of 135 for an initial leg of upward towards the 150.
Welcome back. You're watching Closing Bets. We're trading below 11,900 for the moment. We've slipped quite significantly from the highs of the day. In fact, in the morning, we opened fairly strong. The high that we made today was 11,975 or thereabouts. We're significantly off that. That said, we're up about 20 odd points above the lows of the day as well. The breadth of the Bank Nifty is looking worse. So only about two counters that are trading positive at the moment. They are Axis Bank as well as IndusInd Bank. But what's doing well is very clearly the entire FMCG basket. There's a lot of cheer, a lot of optimism. The monsoons have finally hit. It was a delayed onset, but it has finally hit the southwest coast, and of course that does mean good news. A normal monsoon means good news for the entire FMCG space. Britannia Industries, Dyaneshwar, top gainer on the Nifty at the moment. It's a 3% jump coming in on that one, and it's leading the pack as far as consumption goes. What's the sense on this chart?
Yeah, if you talk about the Britannia, recently we have seen that the long-term trend line, intermediate trend line has been broken down the stocks and tested the 2600 level, and after that it has been bounced back towards the northern trajectory, and it has been again the testing the trend line. So if it is managed to close above 3000 level, then only we may see the further escalation. Otherwise, traders should wait for further confirmation to stop to close above 3000 level.
Right, that's a Britannia for you, but the two heavyweights from the Nifty universe, again consumption, ITC, we've seen some, in fact, some bit of consolidation and profit taking from 305 levels. It's now about 275 to 80. What next for an ITC? HUL has also been looking to move for the last few days. We've not seen a big breakout coming in, but it's holding near 1850 right now.
Deepanshu, talk about the both of the stocks. So ITC is clearly underperforming the key benchmark index, as well as if you look at the HUL, so it is outperforming the key benchmark index. If you look at on the higher time frame chart, ITC has taken an intermediate trend line support near about 275, and it has been managed to give the pullbacks towards the 278, 279. But upside is very limited in case of ITC. But if you talk about the Hindustan Unilever, so on a higher time frame chart, it has given a clear breakout and it is ready to march towards the northern trajectory. So anyone wants to take a position in space of FMCG, so they should go for HUL.
Right, so HUL, the clear preference between HUL and ITC. And while we're talking consumption, Dyaneshwar, let's talk about the mid-cap names also. Dabur and Marico both on the move, a percent and a half up. These two, I mean, Marico has been doing fairly well. We're close to those 52-week highs on this one. What's the sense on both these names?
Yeah, go to the mid cap counter. So, in case of Dabur on a higher time frame chart, it was unfolded into the corrective pattern, and it has completed its corrective pattern near the level of 360 and ready to march towards the northern trajectory. So, any dips come towards the 400 level, 395 level, so that could be a great buying opportunity for an initial leg of move towards the 450.
Right, and just as we are talking consumption, it is the monsoon news. It has hit parts of northeast India, so it is progressing. It has covered entire Kerala, in fact, most parts of Kerala, and is advancing towards Tamil Nadu right now. Delayed by about 8 days, but now making progress. That's a monsoon for you. We are still going to see a deficient zone, but because of that delay, but at least now progress is being made, hitting parts of northeast and of course covering entire Kerala, moving towards Tamil Nadu. Couple of more consumption stocks are moving away from FMCG, Dyaneshwar. Voltas, we saw a very good move in Friday's trading session. Today it seems to be consolidating. Last 1 month, 2 months, it's seen decent up move and it's up about 20% from recent lows as well. What's the call on a Voltas right now?
In case of Voltas on a lower time frame charts mainly on daily, it has been consolidating in an escalating channel where the channel's overhead resistance placed near about 650, and Voltas is currently trading at 620. So there is a 30 points of gap is there to reach towards the upper trend line resistance. So anyone wants to take a long position, they can take a long position, but keep a stop loss, a tight stop loss of 610 for an initial leg of move towards the 614. That would be an channel's overhead resistance.
All right, so that's the view as far as Voltas goes. Bata is on the move, Dyaneshwar, today. And in fact, the last 5 sessions or so have seen this steady sort of traction as far as Bata goes after quite some time. We do seem to be inching higher. Even as we speak, it's a 3% jump that's playing out on this one. Where do you see this move taking us as far as Bata goes?
In case of Bata, we observe that on a higher time frame as well as on a lower time frame chart is moving in a clear uptrend. And recently it has unfolded into the corrective pattern. And in today's trading session, after the consolidation we got a fresh breakout. So again, it has been moving towards the northern trajectory. So Bata India would be a great buying opportunity. Buy at current market price, keep a stop loss of 1380 for an initial leg of move towards its 1480.
What's gone wrong with the Jain irrigation, Dyaneshwar? There are some concerns on the street, but if you look at the chart, there's been a complete breakdown. It's seeing double-digit cuts on a daily basis, and it's been giving up key supports on a daily basis as well. What happens next here?
Yeah, Dipanshu, look at the Jain irrigation chart pattern. So higher time frame charts mainly on BT, it is clearly showing that the stock is moving in a lower top, lower bottom formation, and it has not managed to even surpass the previous high. So that's why it is making new low. Every time it has been consolidating, giving pullbacks. Again, it has been making new low. So right now, the shorting opportunity is not possible for the stocks. Any pullbacks comes towards the near about 44, 45 level. So that could be a great selling opportunity.
All right, 44, 45 levels, a good time to get out of Jain irrigation. It's an 11.5% cut that's playing out on that stock. Definitely a breaking stock to keep on your radar this afternoon. Dyaneshwar, the whole host of these liquor stocks are buzzing at the moment. United Brewery is seeing a very smart move. United Spirits is doing fairly well. Soam Distilleries, just to name another, that's doing well. Global Spirits also seeing strong traction. In fact, they're moving higher even as we speak, near about the highs of the day. Are you liking any of these names?
Yeah, in space of liquor stocks, so it has been consolidating in a very narrow range. In that space, United Spirit, it has given a breakout in the last week, but which is not managed to sustain the 570 level, and again it has tested the 540 level. So if Bulls is managed to take out the 570, 580 level, then only we may see the further escalation towards the 600, 620.
Well, Welcome back. You're watching Closing Bets. We're trading back above 11,900. In fact, 920 is what we have on the index. The Bank Nifty too seeing a slight positive traction. In fact, we're completely flat at the moment, trading around 31,050 levels. The broader end of the market is doing fairly well. Mid caps, in fact, are holding up, gains about 0.2%. Some financials doing well. A lot of the consumption names that we have been discussing, and a whole host of pharma and IT stocks that are on the move here. But Dyaneshwar, very quickly, just wanted a sense on some of these gas stocks that have been seeing fairly sustained traction. I'll name a few. Mahanagar Gas is doing well. Gujarat Gas is holding up. IGL has been seeing decent moves on and off, and once again today it's seeing good traction. Do you have any favorites on this list?
Yeah, in case of gas sector, so rather going for an MGL, IGL looks quite promising because recently we have seen that the stock is trading in a high top high bottom formation, and it has marches towards the northern trajectory and tested the level of 350 from near about 250 level. Any dips comes towards the 330, 325, so that could be a great buying opportunity because at that level the risk reward ratio is quite favorable. So wait for an correction who comes towards the 330, 325.
Motherson Sumi, Dyaneshwar, look at that chart. It's on the move today. It's again heavily beaten down, so some adjustment going on over there. And a decent open interest addition as well over there. What's going on Motherson?
Yeah, in case of recently we have seen that the stock has been beaten from the level of 165 towards the 150. So and recently the past 15 days the stock was consolidating in a very narrow range, and today the bulls got activated, and you know we are clearly seeing the renewed strength in the chart. So I could suggest in coming few days there could be a possibility of short covering. So anyone can take a long position right now. They can buy at current market price by keeping a stop loss of 150 for an initial leg of up move towards the 127, 130. So that could be a very strong resistance.
In fact, Motherson Sumi is one of the top gainers as far as the auto index is concerned. We're seeing decent traction even for names like Bajaj Auto. Maruti is trading positive. M&M holding up with gains of about 0.5% nearly. Even Eicher Motors not doing too badly at all. Where we're seeing the pressure then from the auto pack very clearly is Tata Motors, 2% cuts, one of the top losers on the Nifty. And also, even while Bajaj Auto is doing well, a couple of those two-wheeler names, Hero Moto as well as TVS Motors, both seeing pressure in trade at the moment. Cuts of about 0.5% playing out for these names. Comment on these two-wheeler names as well, Dyaneshwar. Bajaj Auto on the one hand is doing well. Do you see further upside on this chart, or do you prefer a name like Hero Moto?
Yeah, in case of Bajaj Auto, we have seen that the stock is managed to bottom out near about 2,500 level and give the rally towards the 3,000 level, and right now it is consolidating in a narrow range. I could say 2,900 would be a good support for an Bajaj Auto. So if stock is managed to come out towards the 2,900, so that could be a very good bet to go long because risk reward ratio is quite favorable for an initial leg of up move towards the 3,100.
All right, very clearly it's a cautious view on auto. We'll have to watch those monthly auto sales numbers. Of course, the expectation in the industry is that perhaps the second half of the year will deliver some kind of recovery. It remains to be seen if things play out to script. But it is less than 25 minutes to go before we close out the trading day. Let's get a few ideas then from you, Dyaneshwar. Any trade calls that you have at this time?
Yeah, of course. When 3 o'clock, the trade ideas will be from my side. It is a Bata India because recently we have discussed that the Bata India is moving in a clear uptrend, and after a consolidation zone today it got a fresh breakout and reduced strength is clearly also on the Bata. One can go long at the current market price by keeping a stop loss of 1,400 for an initial leg of move towards the 1,460. The second stock would be an container corporation because recently we have seen that the impulsive reaction into the container corporation, and recently stock was unfolded into the corrective pattern, and it has completed its correcting pattern and moves towards the northern trajectory. So one can buy container corporation by keeping a stop loss of 520 for an initial leg of move towards the 550. And third stocks would be from the back of IT because recently it has given a kickstart to the IT indices. So I would go long in Wipro because recently we have seen that after consolidation, Wipro has again come out with the consolidation zone and moving towards the northern trajectory. So one can buy the Wipro at current market price by keeping a stop loss of 292 for an initial leg of move towards the 310.
Welcome back. Tune into Closing Bets. Last 15 minutes of trade. The action is heating up slightly. You have the Bank Nifty, which was attempting to move back into positive territory, but it has given up on those attempts right now. It's down about 50 odd points. The Nifty is firmly holding above 11,900. Consumption and technology, that's where the action is today. Those two spaces are what's holding the market up. Strong participation from names like TCS, Infi, ITC, as well as an HUL is what's driving interest. You also have banks like Axis and SBI that are in positive territory, although most other banks are down and out in trade, and most of your PSU banks are in fact taking a big knock. Select NBFCs are on the move. Diwan Housing Finance surprisingly is the top gainer on the mid-cap index. Some respite after being beaten down heavily. Muthoot as well as Manappuram are looking good right now. You have names like Whirlpool, Godrej Properties, the liquor stocks, especially United Breweries and United Spirits, Amar Raja, Gillette Industries, Cholamandalam, Ramco and Oberoi Realty, which are also up and about in trade. Select metal stocks are also on the move. Titan from the consumption basket once again is looking good. The breadth of the market is not all that bad. 3:2 is the advanced decline ratio right now. Dyaneshwar, last few minutes of trade left. Any final BTST or STBT calls from you?
Yes, Dipanshu, I would go for Hindustan Zinc because recently we have seen that the Hindustan Zinc has made a low of near about 237. And if you look at the overall chart structure, the previous swing low was placed at 242, 41 odd points, and Base is not managed to take out that level and not sustaining below that. So that would be a great bet for the BTST. Traders can keep a stop loss of 237 for an initial leg of move towards the 247. And second stocks from the telecom space, that is Bharti Airtel. We have clearly seen that the last few months, Bharti Airtel has outperformed the key benchmark index. And once the momentum start, price tends to remain in a motion more or less in the same direction. That is northern trajectory. So one can go for Bharti Airtel by keeping a stop loss of 358 for an initial leg of move towards the 370.
Pharma across the board is doing fairly well. And Dyaneshwar, let me get a technical view from you first. A few mid-cap names that are holding out fairly smartly. We're seeing good traction on Torrent Pharma, Strides Pharma Science also doing fairly well at the moment. What are you liking from the mid-cap pharma basket?
Yeah, from the mid-cap pharma baskets, if you look at the Torrent Pharma, so we have a decent support around 1500 level. And the stock has been corrected from the 1950 towards the 1500. And we are expecting that the stock is ready, or the stock is poised for an initial leg of pullback towards the 1650. So at the current market price, the risk reward ratio is quite favorable. One can take a positional bets for an near about 1.5 month by keeping a stop loss of 1450 on a closing basis for an initial leg of more towards the 1650 or 1700. So that would be a 50% Fibonacci retracement of the previous one.
Right. We just spoke with Vineet about Sera. Dyaneshwar, let me come back to you on Sera as well. There's a sudden spike that's coming in on the counter. I'm not sure what's driving the interest, but 2.5% jump that we're seeing in Sera Sanitary, Dyaneshwar.
Yeah, if you look at the overall chart structure, so recently we have seen that the stock was unfolded into the corrective pattern. It is consolidating in a wide range. So if you wanted to take a position, you can take a position for an initial leg of not more than 5 to 6%.
So retail facing perhaps is the space to be as far as private banks are concerned. In fact, Dyaneshwar, we had a word about Axis Bank, I think, but any of the other private banks that you like, DCB Bank, Federal Bank, even a Yes Bank, it's off the lows. It did make fresh 52-week lows in trade today. What would be the technical structure that you are seeing for Yes Bank after the kind of fall that we've had? And what else are you liking from the private banking space?
From the private space, I would go for DCB because recently we have seen that the DCB has outperformed the key benchmark index. And whenever it has been come towards the 230, 225, so that could be a great buying opportunity because the intermediate trend line placed over there. So if the stocks corrected and get towards the 230 to 25, so one can go long by keeping a stop loss of 210 for an initial leg of move towards the 250. And in case of Yes Bank, yes, of course, we have recently seen that the stock is moving in a clear downtrend. It is making a lot of lower bottom formation. But recently, the previous swing low is placed near about 132. So that could be a very strong support for an Yes Bank. If bears not manage to take out the 132 level, then only we may see the further coolness into the stocks, and stock may march towards the northern trajectory towards the 150 level. So that could be a very strong resistance for the bulls.
That's the management of KEI Industries. A quick call from you, Dyaneshwar. Are you spotting any sort of opportunity on this chart?
AI industry?
Yes, that's right. KEI Industries.
Yeah, if you look at the overall chart structure of KI industry, so earlier it was unfolded into the corrective pattern, and after completion of corrective pattern, stock is moving towards the northern trajectory, and it has moved into the uncharted territory again after May 2018. It has tested the high, and recently it has testing the breakout level at the level of 480, 475. So anyone wants to take a position, they can take a position at current market price by keeping a stop loss of 450 for an closing basis stop loss for an initial leg of move towards the again uncharted territory, and we can probably see the 550 level also.
Right, that is KEI Industries for you, has seen some very strong moves of late. Getting into close of trade, then it's been a strong pickup that we've seen on the Nifty, at least in the last hour of trade. We started the day we started the last hour just holding at 11,900 on the Nifty. We are now up about 0.5% on the index. The Bank Nifty has been absolutely flat. It's oscillated in just about 100-point range in the last 1 hour or so. Very few winners as far as the banking names goes, but today belong to consumption and today belong to technology. Britannia was the top gainer, and you had very strong participation from names like ITC and HUL as well. TCS was the top point-wise contributor, followed by an Infosys. Good gains coming in the rest of the IT pack as well. Tech Mahindra, HCL Technology were all on the move in trade today. Dr. Reddy's from the pharma basket had a good day of trade, up about 1.5%. A couple of metal names are also on the move. JSW Steel as well as Hindalco seeing some good moves. L&T was up about 1%, so that added some cheer on the street as well. Titan from the consumption basket, once again, good moves coming in. Maruti and Eicher from the auto pack also closing out in positive territory. There weren't too many losers. OMC is under pressure once again. BPCL was the top loser in trade. Yes Bank, the selling continues, down another 2.5% in trade. Coal India, GAIL, Tata Motors, ONGC, Kotak Mahindra Bank and HDFC Bank were also amongst the losers, as also some cuts coming in on an IndusInd Bank in trade. Axis and SBI managed to close out in positive territory though. The broader markets again very quiet. The mid-cap index was flat, but there were some cuts in the small-cap universe.
That's right. Small caps clearly underperforming. It's a cut of about 0.5% that we closed out with, and mid caps closing completely flat, but slight positive bias is what we saw there. Once again, it was the pharma names that did well, some financial names, and of course the IT basket that continued to hold out in today's trading day. The top gainer though from the mid cap basket, in fact the Nifty 500, was DHFL. Nearly 7% up is where we finally closed out on that counter. Muthoot Finance and Manappuram Finance, strong day of trade coming in for both these names, and Cholamandalam Finance also seeing fairly good traction today, along with the likes of an M&M Financial that was participating in today's trading day. So financials across the board, even Max India adding about 4.5% today. Along with that, we saw good traction coming in for pharma names across the board. So we did see strong traction for Strides Pharma Science, Torrent Pharma did fairly well, and a whole host of the mid-cap pharma names were also on the move. Consumer durables were in focus. Whirlpool, Voltas, Havells India all closing out higher and amongst the top gainers from the mid-cap basket. And of course, consumption was a theme across the board. So we saw fairly good traction for names like Bata India, 3% added today. Venky's did fairly well. We did see good traction for select sugar stocks also, but Rampur Chini saw a very smart move in today's trading session also. And of course, a good traction coming in for names like Serra Sanitary Ware, Kajaria Ceramics as well. Motherson Sumi, top gainer on the auto index, and fairly good traction coming in there. We closed out with gains of about 3.5% or nearly 4% by the time we ended the session. Godrej Properties continuing to see good traction, so we're closing out higher on that one by about 3%, and the top gainer from the entire realty pack also. But on the flip side, pain coming in for Jain Irrigations, 13.5, nearly 14% cuts is what we finally closed out with. PC Jeweler lost out, 13% cuts on that one, and J&K Bank after the replacement of the management, 12.5% cuts is what we finally closed out with. Syntex Plastics lost out, Suzlon Energy came under pressure, Dilip Biltcon also seeing a lot of selling pressure, along with a name like Deepak Nitrite that lost about 8% in today's trading session. But sectorally, we have to say things did improve in the last hour of trade. So closing out higher on auto, on IT, on realty and the like. FMCG, of course, top sectoral gainer. Where we saw the pain was very clearly media, PSU banks, as well as some of the energy names. Dyaneshwar, just a closing interesting comment from you then. We've managed to hold on to 11,900. In fact, closing out higher by about 50 points. It's a fairly, muted start to this trading week. But of course, last week was very, very volatile, and we can expect some volatility to continue in the run up to the budget. Bank Nifty is looking weaker. Small caps are definitely seeing some amount of pressure. What is the kind of bias that you have going forward from here in terms of market direction? And also leave us with a few names that you are keeping on your radar going into trade tomorrow.
Yeah, if you look at the overall chart structure of Nifty, so take an example of last week, we have seen that the Nifty has made a new lifetime high, and the bottom has been tested near about 11,800. So 11,800 and 12,100 should be the range the traders should look at for this coming week. And I suggest traders to rather going for a directional view on the indices, one should look for a stock specific action, because in these weeks we are observing that many stock specific action could be seen in coming days. So rather going for a directional view on the indices, one should look for a stock specific action. And for the week as a whole week, I'm looking for a stock like from the FMCG pack, that is Hindustan Unilever, because recently it has given a clear breakout and trendline breakout, as well as oscillators has given a trendline breakout. So stock is ready to march towards the northern trajectory.
Absolutely. Consumption, technologies, some of the metal names, and some of the other smaller areas of the markets is where the action is. Some NBFCs also did well in trade today, of course, could also be a trading bounce back as far as the market is concerned. Above 11,900, let's see where the rest of the week takes us. Dyaneshwar, thanks so much for joining in today and running us your reading of the market as well. Let's take a quick break. As we do that, Brexit is another factor that's, of course, weighing on the global markets. Theresa May's term ended, or rather, she did announce her resignation as Prime Minister and ended that on